its modern presence in the United States by Anna Seeloff. Mormonism is among one of the many religions present in the demographics of the United States. Over the course of a few decades and the modernization of technology, Mormonism has gained somewhat of a spotlight in today's society. From a general standpoint, very little is known about Mormonism aside from what we see in the media. For example, most of the Mormon population resides in Utah, so we typically associate them with that state. We also see examples of their practices and beliefs on television, such as the TLC show Sister Wives. However, these assumptions made are only a small part of what the Mormon religion actually looks like today. I hope throughout this presentation to explain the Mormon religion to you and to give some insight into what it looks like in our modern society. I'll start with a brief history on the origins of Mormonism. When we go back to the beginning of Mormonism, we are left with a man named Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith began his practices in western New York in the late 1820s to 1830s as the Latter-day Saints movement of restorative Christianity. Smith's movement quickly became the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, detaching from the movement itself but solidifying as its own religious institution. At this time, he used the Bible to transcribe the Book of Mormon, utilizing texts from the Bible as well as his own ideals and prophecies. When Smith died in 1844, a man named Brigham Young overtook the institution and brought it through the Midwest down to Salt Lake City, Utah. The largest current demographics of Mormon population reside in Utah, Idaho, California, and Arizona. The Book of Mormon is the text used, all versions available, within Mormon religion today. As I previously stated, the Bible was used to transcribe the Book of Mormon, meaning that Mormonism and Christianity share some of the same rooted beliefs. Some of these beliefs include sexual purity, eternal marriage, baptism, and eternal progression in the afterlife. One of the notable differences and one of the most famous notable practices of Mormonism is polygamy. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the current Church of Mormonism, but there is also a subsector of Mormonism known as the Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints. To give a little bit of insight on Mormonism from a sociological perspective, I'm going to explain their primary and secondary groups. But first, I'll give a little brief on primary and secondary groups in general. Primary groups are usually smaller in size, and there is a higher level of intimacy and personal relationships between these people. Interaction among the members is very frequent and usually takes place on a regular face-to-face basis. This may include people like those who are in your family and live in your household. Secondary groups are much less intimate and personal relationships. They're much more formal and not as frequent interaction among the members. The contact is much more limited and the relations are more distant. This may be people in your workplace or even at church. In the Mormon religion, these two groups tend to blend together. In the Mormon faith, there is a direct connection between family/households and the church. Family life is of high importance in the Mormon religion. It is one of the most encouraged beliefs, and family connection and your connection with God are two of the most important connections according to the Mormon religion. In more radical sectors, the Mormons control their entire communities, meaning that they run their banks, their postal services, law enforcement, and most businesses and institutions. Because of this, your primary group, as someone of the Mormon faith, tends to blend into the secondary group as well. Where in normal context, you would think family is the primary group and members of your church as a secondary group, in Mormon religion, these two groups tend to be the same mix of people. This creates a large blending of family, friends, and faith in the Mormon religion. Another sociological theory or perspective I would like to share is the symbolic interaction theory. Here for you I have some examples of things that we may see simply as ways of expressing our personalities and our interests to other people. Piercings, tattoos, and dyed hair. In Mormon religion, These things are seen as symbols of evil. Piercings, tattoos, and dyed hair are seen as unnatural and impure, which are things that can lead you astray from your faith in the Mormon religion. The purpose of modesty in Mormon religion is to serve God and to obtain the highest glory you can in the afterlife, which is the primary goal of the Mormon religion. Their fundamental belief is that serving God in the most pure way in your current life is the way to obtain His glory in the afterlife. As you can see from the photographs I have displayed on the screen, the dress code in the Mormon faith is very, very modest. On the left, I have examples of the more radical fundamentalist church of Latter-day Saints. In these photographs, the women can be seen wearing dresses that go from their necks to their wrists to their ankles, completely covered. All of their hair is done the same, usually in large braids placed on the back of their heads. As for the men and the boys, they typically wear slacks, have short cut hair, and wear long sleeve shirts. On the right side, we see a little bit more of a modernized version of Mormon faith and examples of how they dress. The right side may look a little bit more familiar to us as we are looking for normal society, but not all Mormon families are the same. There is the obvious divide between the Church of Latter-day Saints and the fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints, but overall the dress code is still very modest and reflects their service to God. The hierarchy that is used in the Church of Latter-day Saints puts God at the highest authority. The second closest and the closest man can get to God in their religion are prophets and priests. Below them is men, followed by women and then children. This is their system of authority and respect within the church's hierarchy. In Mormon faith, obedience is crucial in order to obtain this glory in the afterlife. They must follow what the prophets say, and what they have shared is God's plan for the Mormon people. Men over women have much more social mobility throughout this hierarchy. The way that men gain respect, power, and control is how far they are seen from God. Men of good faith are men who marry many wives and have many children. This is the way that men move up in the hierarchy. This order is of great importance in Mormon communities. It assigns respect, power, and control, mostly to men, prophets, and priests. Women and children are of very little control and power within the Mormon religion. The role of women is to keep the house, to learn skills such as sewing and cooking, to bear children, raise those children, and to wed men of good faith. As I previously mentioned, plural marriage is one of Mormonism's most notable qualities and may be what it is most commonly known for. Plural marriage, in Mormonism's case, specifically means polygamy, where there is one man with multiple wives. The Church of Latter-day Saints fought the U.S. government in the late 1800s to try and gain legality of plural marriage. Unfortunately for them, none of their attempts succeeded, and polygamy still remains illegal in the United States today. Despite its illegal status, polygamy and plural marriage are still codified in the Mormon religious principles today. Polygamy is actually only actively practiced by members of the Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints, which is the subsection of Latter-day Saints that is much more radicalized and has been denounced from the Church of Latter-day Saints today. While this practice remains illegal, it is still commonly known that it is practiced and has not yet been entirely ceased by the U.S. government. To wrap up my presentation, I would like to touch on the media exposure and technological advancement and involvement of Mormonism. Mormon faith has been broadcasted in modern media in different genres, such as drama, docuseries, and reality TV. Their actual technological involvement within the religion varies on the severity, or more so the degree, of devoutness to their religion. What I mean by this is basically the difference between the fundamentalist group of Latter-day Saints and the regular Church of Latter-day Saints. The regular Church of Latter-day Saints, they look more like the photographs that I showed you on the right in my previous slide, where they do use cell phones and watch television and use modern technology. In the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints Church, they do not, or at the very least strongly discourage, the use of modern technology, such as cell phones, video cameras, and television. This creates quite a gap in not only socialization and knowledge of the outside world, but it creates a gap between those who are belonging to the fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints and those in regular society who view media day to day, especially in our modern day where technology is so highly advanced and is absolutely everywhere. It creates not only a social difference, but an educational difference. And in some shows, such as one of them that I have presented, Escaping Polygamy, people who leave this religion find themselves having a difficult time adjusting to the modernization of our society because of how secluded and traditional Mormon religion has kept technology use. Overall, I hope throughout my presentation today, I taught you a little bit about the Mormon religion, what it's actually like versus what we see in the media, and how the media exposure has formed our perceptions of them.